Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bourbon Bites. My name is Clifton. Welcome to another Thursday night live stream. Tonight's going to be a little bit different. We're still going to be drinking some bourbon, but we're still going to be having something completely new to the channel, which is very exciting. First of all, I want to say hello to everyone here in the chat watching live or watching the replay. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you are watching the replay. I would love to see your comments and thoughts. And if you enjoy the stream, make sure at some point to hit the thumbs up button during the show tonight. But like I said, something completely different today. I did do something a little similar probably a year and a half ago where I did like the what was it called? The spicy nut challenge that had like the different really extremely levels of heat. I forgot what it was called. It was a challenge that everyone was doing for a while, but this is a little bit different. Still in the same vein of things, but without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and bring on my guest for the evening. Please welcome the founder and sauceologist of the brand Shelby Spice. Please welcome Duncan Blount. Welcome, Duncan.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks so much for being on. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for reaching out. I always love learning about new brands and new exciting projects, and this is definitely one that's up there. So, before we get into what the main topic is, if anyone saw the thumbnail, they know that we are trying a bourbon barrel aged hot sauce. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, your story.
I actually come from the event world, and I lived out in LA for 2 years, so very close to where you're at. And
Yes.
I ran a historic event venue, and I did all kinds of ocean view events. So I come from the hospitality world, but I've always loved hot sauce. And this business, Shelby Spice, is my 5th business that I've helped start. And this one is all mine. This is my baby. And so I'm trying to create the best small batch hot sauce in North Carolina and beyond.
That's incredible. So are you originally from the Carolinas, or are you from out here originally? Or
I am. I was born in Morehead City, North Carolina, which is right on the coast, and lived most of my life in North Carolina. I have some family in the Midwest, so every summer I would go back to the farm and I would work on the farm with my grandparents. We had a beef farm out there. And then I went to college in Kentucky, which is how I developed my love for bourbon. I went to Berea College. I was there from 2010 to 2014. And man, I fell in love with bourbon hard. So love Kentucky, love the Kentucky heritage, the craftsmanship. And I actually did pottery while I was out there. So there's all kinds of Appalachian crafts, and bourbon is one of the crafts for sure.
That's such a journey. You've been like all over. I'm also from the Carolinas. I grew up in upstate South Carolina. I went to school in Charleston.
Yeah.
So definitely miss it. I'm out here in LA now, but I do miss traveling back there every now and then. But
the Carolinas,
so cool. Like I said, you've been all around. So what drove you to making North Carolina like the home for Shelby Spice?
North Carolina is really known for good vinegar forward hot sauces, and the climate we have is just excellent for peppers. Like peppers grow like crazy here. And of course, where you're from is where the Carolina Reaper was invented, and now Pepper X, which is the hottest pepper in the world, right there in Rock Hill by the famous Ed Curry. So I just think the Carolinas is kind of a hotbed for quality hot sauce. And even though there's a lot of hot sauces, there's not any doing what I have in mind. I want to create a collectible hot sauce that you want to put on a shelf and show off to your friends, just like good bourbon.
You came to the right group of people. I mean, as you can tell, I may have a few bottles behind you, but that's so interesting. Right. We'll talk a little bit about your process here in a bit that makes it different and makes it unique. But first of all, I want to give some shouts to folks in the chat. I know some people have been really excited. We have a bit of hot sauce connoisseurs in the chat. I've seen.
Hey.
Just want to say hello to some folks. Emily, Tony, good to see you. Zopher, Taste and Sensibility just made it. Hey, Taste and Sensibility does a lot of food and like things like that on his channel. So maybe you guys should get in touch. I think he'd be a great fit for you on the channel. Marty over at Whiskey Nose, good to see you. Todd Cooper, I don't know why your name is Squirrely T. I guess that's a drunk name. I don't know. No dying on stream. Oh, because I almost died from the. Do you know what I was talking about? Like the spicy pepper challenge that was really trendy like a couple years ago.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I did that on a stream when I was doing a dry week, and I almost died literally at the end. But it was a lot of fun.
It's so chemical, it'll get you. Oh man.
Oh yeah. This is Donnie saying he's a hot sauce connoisseur. So excited for this. He's based in Tennessee. Donnie and Diana, who are watching tonight. So good to see y'all. Marty says, "Where are you in North Carolina?" He's in Raleigh. Okay, we talked a little bit about that, but you said it was, what was the town called?
So I'm in a city called Shelby. So it's the city between Asheville and Charlotte, North Carolina.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, right. My stomping grounds for sure. Yeah. Very cool. I don't know if I've ever actually been. I've definitely driven through Shelby. I used to travel a lot from Rock Hill, Charlotte to Greenville area, so I'm sure at some point I've done some bourbon hunting in that area.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about North Carolina. It's like a control state, so you can usually find some pretty good bottles at the ABC stores.
There's deals if you can find the deals, and there's even better deals if you know people on the ABC board. So
I'm sure. I most of my love for whiskey came after I moved out here, so I kind of didn't really make those connections out there. But yeah, definitely, it's all about connections too. Cheech Ardolino is here in the chat as well. I think I got Adam Free from Tennessee as well. So great to see so many people turning out for this. Like I said, I know it's a little bit different. But okay, let's talk about your new release. Now, you launched a Kickstarter for this specific hot sauce. Tell us a little bit about this one. It's 7 Gables, right?
That's right. That's the 7 Gables hot sauce. Whenever I was in LA, I went to a very unusual hot sauce shop, and they had a case, and it was the limited release hot sauce case. And this would have been in April 2023, and my mind was just blown. I was like, there's collectible hot sauces. And as you know, LA is usually the cultural predictor for the rest of the country, right? Like, it's usually, your brand is very 80s, right? Like, LA was 80s before the rest of the country got colorful, fun,
for sure.
Retro clothes. So I think that hot sauce is going to become the new collectible industry. And I saw it for the first time in LA. And I've decided to create the 7 Gables hot sauce as a collectible limited release hot sauce. Most hot sauces are made in big 75-gallon vats at a co-packer or at just a large industrial site. I want to make small batch hot sauce using this extremely premium vinegar that has been aged in a freshly dumped bourbon barrel. So this is a vinegar forward, ultra premium hot sauce with fresh peppers, fermented Carolina Reapers, just a little bit for the heat. And it's simple. It's a simple hot sauce because just like bourbon, you just need oak, some corn, and a few other ingredients, and you've got like the most magical thing you can think of. So I believe in simplicity and quality.
That's awesome. So you kind of mentioned it, but this is kind of what makes your product unique. Is it's the actual vinegar that you're using that's actually aged in the barrels, right?
Yes, this is it.
So that's unique. How is it normally done? Like when you normally see a bourbon barrel aged hot sauce, like what is the normal process, and how is yours a bit different?
Yes, there are bourbon hot sauces out there, and the easiest way to do it is to pour some bourbon into your vat or into your pot if you're doing a really small batch, and then you just simmer off the alcohol, right? Because alcohol, it evaporates at a lower temperature, and so you're able to get rid of all the alcohol content. You're just left with bourbon flavor. But I don't think that that's the best way to really imbue vinegar, which is 40% of hot sauce is just vinegar. I don't think that's the best way to give the flavor. And so I decided to do the expensive route, which is buying a freshly dumped barrel and truly aging vinegar. And it's not just any vinegar. This is cane vinegar. So cane vinegar is made with sugar cane in Louisiana. So they actually grow sugar cane, make cane syrup, and make it into this just crisp, delicate, incredible vinegar. And like whenever you taste good vinegar, you never want to go back to like the trashy white distilled vinegar ever again.
Well, is that where we start? Because you did send me a bottle of the vinegar too. So yes. Do we want to try that, or do we want to try the hot sause first? I'll leave it to you.
Good question. I want us to try the bourbon first. So it's bourbon barrel aged vinegar, but okay. I kind of want to treat it like bourbon because this is a 4-week batch. I have other vinegar that's been aging for 9 weeks now. So I took it out at the 4-week mark because I felt like the flavor had really gotten good. But the vinegar has absorbed all of that good bourbon that's really in the cells of the wood that have been trapped for so long. A lot of bourbon is left inside the barrel, inside of those wood pores. And some of it has come out and really reacted with the vinegar. So if you want to, do you have a glass ready? You want to?
Yeah, I made sure to get a different shaped glass so I didn't get confused and think this is bourbon later because it looks very similar to a glass of whiskey.
Yeah, so. Like a dark one.
That would definitely catch me off surprise if I'm trying to go for a big sip and But no, I'm a big excited. Hey, and listen, I'm one of those people that always enjoys vinegar. Like I used to do the apple cider vinegar shots in the morning.
Oh
I like pickle juice, so like this is up
Mhm.
my alley for sure.
I mean,
Can you tell us before we get into it? Can you tell us a little bit about the barrels, like where, even if you can't reveal where you get them from, could you tell us a little bit about like the whiskey
yes.
that's in it before?
So I wanted a bourbon that had aged and aged again so that it was like a really just mature bourbon. So this was
Mm,
a 291 distillery
okay,
small batch bourbon. So they're of course
gotcha.
Colorado whiskey. They did this was a 4 year in a barrel, and then they put it into a new oak barrel. So that it was basically double
Uh,
oaked. And
mhm.
so this was a char number 4, 10-gallon a fresh barrel that they aged this bourbon in for the second time. And so
Gotcha.
it aged for a full year inside the barrel. And dude, whenever I popped that bung and I smelt it, I was just like, this is what I wanted. This is that deep char. This is exactly what I was looking for.
Oh, that's so awesome. So you said this is a 4 week aging in the barrel.
Correct.
Now you mentioned the taste before. Like, is it just like a typical? I know you said is it like a sweeter vinegar that it tastes like before it's aged?
So because it's sugar cane, it tastes sweet, but
Okay,
there's no actual sugar left in it, right? Like
gotcha. Okay,
the way that it's burned off and processed to make vinegar, it eats those sugar molecules, right? So the vinegar itself, it's more of a sweet aftertaste. And so the
gotcha.
cane vinegar, it's just a delicious flavor. So my idea was if you have really good vinegar and really good pure peppers and you put that together, it's going to be just such premier ingredients compared to other hot sauce on the market. So I believe that this vinegar in our hands right now is the best tasting vinegar. Like I could drink this like kombucha, man. Seriously, it's it's just like a delicious and alcohol-free drink.
Hey, there you go. Hey, let's smell it for a bit.
Yeah.
See what's kind of jumping out of the glass. I mean, I think at first, I mean, I was really surprised when 'cause I did smell this a little bit earlier before we went live. There is some of that oakiness. It's almost like I think that's probably because, like you said, the double barrels, like it has that extra char. There
Hmm.
is that char characteristic that I was surprised I could get on the nose,
Hmm.
and it's really interesting. It's unlike any vinegar I've had. Again, I mean, like you said, it's not really been done before, so I've never had any vinegar that's not just the typical, like you said, white vinegar,
Right.
or the apple cider vinegar. This isn't
Right.
quite like either of those. It's a lot more mellow, a lot more,
Yeah. And I
dare I
think
say, drinkable.
it's the bourbon flavor itself is really sticking to the vinegar because there is vinegar aged in barrels, and the most famous is balsamic vinegar. So there are
Mm,
balsamic vinegars in Italy and France. They age it in a barrel for 10 years. And the
wow,
reason that that black balsamic is so thick as it drizzles out is because over time it evaporates just like bourbon does. And so balsamic
gotcha.
vinegar is just pure French oak, whereas this is a bourbon barrel and oak. So it's really sucked out that bourbon flavor, which I just love.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm ready to go in and give it a try. Let's try it.
Okay, let's do
Cheers.
it. Mm.
Oh wow, man, that's good. That's so different than I imagined it. Like I said, I smelled it earlier. I hadn't tried
Yeah.
it. I saw a question in the chat. Donnie says, "Is it much milder than apple cider vinegar? I can drink apple cider vinegar straight." I think so. I think it has a bit of like it does feel more viscous, like more like heavier, which I guess it could have taken that from the oak. But yeah, it's a very I don't want to say mild because it's vinegar, right? But it's like
Mhm.
how would you describe it?
I would say it doesn't have the kick of apple cider vinegar. And part of that is just quality ingredients. Like this is called Steen's cane vinegar, which comes from a family farm in Louisiana. So I think a lot of it is the way they make it. It's less processed, and so the kick that you're getting is just the acidity
Mhm.
of the vinegar rather than like the bitter aftertaste. Like this aftertaste is just sweet and gorgeous and Burmany. Like it's kind of like a honey aftertaste rather than the traditional painful vinegar tinge.
No, for sure. And I think it doesn't come across as like a flavored, like it doesn't taste like it's been flavored with anything artificial. It just tastes
Yeah.
like it took on those characteristics from the barrel. I think it does take on. I mean, like you said, it's a was the like how like wet was the barrel? Was it like fully like dried out when you got it? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So one thing about owning your own barrels, well, first, shipping is crazy. Like they come on big trucks. So I have 2 barrels now, and one's a full 52-gallon barrel from Speyside, just cooperage, which is where Four Roses gets all of their barrels from. So I got a really big one, and I got the 10-gallon one. And they put a lot of information on the side of the barrel and on the top of the barrel. And so I was able to see on this barrel that they had dumped it on like December 20th of like 2022. So it had stayed for about a year unused.
Okay.
And so, usually like they don't leave any wetness inside of it. They just kind of put the bunghole back in and then sold it a little bit later whenever they were able to get rid of it. So it wasn't super, super fresh, but at the same time, there was nothing else inside of the barrel. So it is a true fresh dumped barrel.
And I can imagine that the vinegar is like able to pull out some of those flavors from that's been like deeply saturated in the barrel for like.
For sure.
I think it's kind of how the whole bourbon works, right? It's the waters, the temperature changes, the going in and out of the barrel. I can imagine that's also happening with the vinegar as well.
Yes. One thing I learned about barrels that I didn't know, and I've been on the Kentucky bourbon trail a couple times, and I never learned this. Whenever you first fill a dry barrel, there's little leaks around the edges because the wood needs time to expand. And so I should have done this, but before you add bourbon to a barrel, you're supposed to actually put a little bit of warm water inside of the barrel to help expand and reduce the leakage. Whereas I just went straight for it. So there was a little bit of loss, but also it wasn't diluted with any water. So, but barrels are fascinating, man, because they expand just the right amount because they absorb the liquid, but then it makes itself watertight just by absorbing.
Yeah, I had like a little well, you can actually see it. I had like one of these little tiny little 1 liter or 2 liter barrels, and the same thing happened. The first time I used it, it worked fine, but then I went to reuse it, and the same thing. I poured the I think I was trying to do a finished version of a bourbon, so like I was pouring like Wild Turkey 101 into it, and I poured it, and the same thing happened. It just leaked out everywhere. I'm like, oh no, like what happened? But it was because of that. I was supposed to add water to it first and let it expand a bit. So even on the small scale, I've experienced that as well. It's something that people don't think of very much. So did you try different ages? Like, did you try this at like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Like, how did you? What made you decide that 4 weeks was the ideal aging time?
That's a good question. Because it's such a precious liquid, I was scared to do like a taste test every week or so. So now I'm doing it at every month. I think something tells me that just 3 months is a good round number, and then it's going to give more complexity to the bourbon. And dumping a barrel on your own whenever you don't have a full setup is not easy. Like I had to create tracks, and like the tracks, the bourbon barrel has to roll on the tracks. You have to open up the bunghole, and then you have to like dump it without it splashing everywhere. So I had to use like a really big and super sanitized like square black bucket. And I had to like put plastic around everything. I was trying to like just do it sterile. I felt like a surgeon, and I was dumping this vinegar. It was not easy, and so I didn't want to do that more than I had to. So the next time I do it will probably be the last time I do it.
Well, you mentioned it's small batch. Is there like a limited number of bottles you're planning with this release?
Yes, I'm only making 1,500 bottles of this bourbon for this edition, at least. One thing I believe in is experimenting with the recipe before you go big. So I want all 1,500 bottles to be like batch number 8, because that's the recipe, right? Like even though I make it in unique batches, I want to have like batch number 8, and then like on the side, I'm going to sign the box. They're all going to come in wooden boxes, and I'm going to say like batch number 8 / pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, and so that way I can really say this is the same recipe. So the recipe you have in front of you is the same recipe I have, and that's batch number 6. Yes. And I call it batch number 6 because I'm trying to get the heat just right.
Oh, I see.
What I want is that bourbon flavor to appear while you also have good heat in your mouth, and especially in the back of your throat, which is my favorite a hot sauce experience is like the back of the throat heat, because the first time I did it, I was all about the bourbon and it just wasn't hot enough. People tried it and
Oh, I
they were like,
see.
this isn't very hot. It's like Pico de Gallo. And I was like, that's disrespectful. It needs to be hot. If you're here for hot sauce, we're going to make it hot. So this is like 40 or 50% more hot than batch number 5.
Okay.
And yes, it's just a different strategy. I'm trying to get that right recipe. So whenever I hit 1,500 bottles, it's all the same recipe. So it's consistent.
And you have like a little heat meter if anyone was curious on the side here. So looks like you're aiming for like about of a medium, not super crazy, like blow your tongue off hot, right?
Yes, exactly. And I put my heat scales with my target demographic in mind. And my target demographic are hot sauce connoisseurs. Hot sauce connoisseurs want actual heat. So a normal person on the street might actually call this really hot, but a hot sauce person is going to say, oh, this is medium, you know?
Okay, well, I'm somewhere in between those two. Like, I like hot sauce, but I'm also like a bit of a baby sometimes. So I did I actually got some Costco chicken wings here. Did not put the sauce on them. I made it a dip that way because I'm a baby. So
perfect.
I have a dipping version. If anyone's curious, like texture wise, it is like a bit of a chunkier sauce. Exactly. Can you tell us a little bit about like the peppers that you chose for this?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you showed a picture of the chunkiness.
Yes.
There's a couple signs of really premium hot sauce. The first sign of premium hot sauce is to see seeds. If you see seeds in your hot sauce, it means that they used fresh peppers or they used mash. Whenever there's mash, it means that either it was fermented, which is a good thing, or they had super fresh peppers and they threw it in there. Sometimes you can do dried, but the seeds just don't taste very good, in my opinion, if you dry them. So whenever you see seeds, whenever you see material inside of the hot sauce, it means that this was blended on site. This is super fresh. These are green cayennes and red cayennes because I wanted it to look brown because it's a bourbon barrel. So I put green plus red. So to have green cayennes, what do? You pick the cayennes early. We have a local greenhouse here in Shelby, and so I picked green cayennes and red cayennes. And then we have the bourbon barrel aged vinegar. And then I add sweet onions for savory hot sauce like this. I find that like good local, like delicious sweet onions are really helpful for hot sauce. And then the last ingredient is fermented Carolina Reapers to really speak to the Carolina heritage and also to give it that final jump in heat.
That's awesome. So all the peppers are from the Carolinas, right? You said they're locally sourced from that greenhouse.
That's exactly right. I mean, and good bourbon, good Scotch, they pride themselves on sourcing. And I want to do the same thing. I want to be consistent. I want to be high quality. And if I can, be super local. So I want this to really represent the best of North Carolina. I want it to be a North Carolina hot sauce because it's vinegar based. There's lots of different styles regionally of hot sauce. This is a vinegar forward vinegar hot sauce.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to give it a try. I don't know if you wanted to just drink that straight from the bottle. I don't know if you have anything to dip it in or anything, but I did, like I said, I heated up some.
It's all good. I want to get
frozen
nice and
chicken
close
wings
for everyone here. I'm going to put it right on my finger
there you
so
go.
you guys can see. What I did was I designed it to be a very thick hot sauce because imagine you had like a watery hot sauce in front of you. You're going to use it really fast and it's going to slip out. And I want this to be a premium bottle. I want people to treat it gently. Yeah, baby, look at it.
I can't get it to focus right. Come on. There, almost focused. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's pretty good.
So you see how chunky it is?
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's very thick. So that way you can use a small bit and really keep it quality. Because when you have a bottle of George T. Stagg, you don't put big gulps. You put a small little sip. And that's
take your advice and scraping some off of it just so I don't blow my palate. But all right, man, I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Let's go and try it. Cheers with the chicken wing. Yeah, the sweetness is the first thing that I notice. The sweetness is up front. I always love when a hot sauce is flavor forward versus spice forward because a lot of times it burns your tongue and you can't taste anything. This one, the first thing I notice is that sweetness. I'm trying it on its own, like I said, on my finger a bit, like you did, just so I can, not be distracted by the chicken.
Yeah. But. Here's kind of a fun little hack. Our bodies are able to recognize our own oils So having hot sauce or tasting something on your finger is
Mm.
actually a more neutral platform
Oh,
than
really?
metal. So like the best tasters in the world, they have gold spoons because it's a metal that doesn't react, but your finger actually doesn't react as much either. So you're able to taste it very easily on your finger. Of course, you don't do that at tasting events though, but
Just like you just have sticky fingers the whole time.
exactly. So
Mm.
the flavor I get very just first and foremost is a sweet pepper. And
Mhm.
and that's what I love about a good cayenne. It's not crazy spicy. It's just like a sweet, delicious pepper flavor. These are a special variety called Long Joe cayennes, and it's just sweet and delicious, but not very hot. And
Yeah.
then like after about 5 seconds, you get hit simultaneously with like the bourbon vinegar
Mhm.
and the heat. And it's just like kind of like an eyebrow moment, like, oh shit. And it's like 5 seconds into it.
Yeah, no, I had the exact same experience. It hits you really sweet up front a little bit. You get the bit of the pepper at first. Of course, you can tell it's a hot sauce. But then, like you
Mhm.
said, it's like that vinegar comes in. It is a bit of a delayed experience. And then on the finish, I think I get more of those like bourbon notes, like
Mhm.
the char that I was getting a bit earlier on just the vinegar. I think that hangs around on the back end of the palate. I mean, it's
Mm.
very similar to drinking a high proof bourbon, shocking your palate like that. Like
Yeah.
that's what the experience is. It's really really good.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you look at the back of a hot sauce bottle, you don't want to see certain things. You don't want to see artificial ingredients like xanthan gum, which is a thickener.
Mhm.
You don't want to see first ingredient water, which is not a good sign. You want to see that there are peppers first and foremost, which is what I did. Whenever ingredients are listed, it's by volume. So
Right.
the very first ingredient on that bottle is the cayenne peppers. And so
Mhm.
you are highlighting quality peppers, and then you're easing into the vinegar. And that hot sauce literally has 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
So that's the joy of a quality product like bourbon. Bourbon has, pure corn bourbon, at least 3 ingredients, right? It's
Right.
crazy. It's like, how can you get something so good with just 3 ingredients? And that's the joy. That's the joy. Simplicity.
That's awesome. So I've seen a lot of people in the chat asking how could they get their hands on it? Because it sounds like some people are interested. So you
Yeah.
actually have a Kickstarter that you started for this, and by the way, you've already passed your goal. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I saw there's only like 6 days left of getting in on that. If anyone's interested,
Yes.
link to that is down in the description below. If you're curious, check it out. Tell us about the Kickstarter experience. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
congrats again on hitting the goal. But like,
Thank
how
you.
was that? Setting that up
Well,
and getting so many funders.
whenever you do something brand new, Kickstarter is a way to share it with investors because there's people on there that literally go because they want to support new ideas. They call them projects. And when you have a new project and you want people to see it, Kickstarter is a great way to get like at least 100 people to see it because they push it in front of their backers. So to become a backer of a project, you just commit to spending the money if the project hits its number. So our project hit the goal, which was $1,800, because I was like, hey, I've got to buy these like really pretty boxes to put the bourbon barrel vinegar hot sauce inside of. I've got to buy the bottles. I've got to buy all these ingredients. Why not just pre-sale? So I treated Kickstarter like a pre-sale.
Mhm.
And my secondary reason for doing this was to find new audience members, because there's a lot of people who love hot sauce, but there's not a lot of hot sauce lovers like Swan's like, okay, cool, cool, I'm into
Cholula
this.
is my go-to water.
And like, because there are collectors, right? Like there's people who drink bourbon, and then there's people who collect bourbon. There's a
Mhm.
difference there. It's a love. So my target market are hot sauce lovers.
Mhm.
And I figured, you know what, maybe 1 in 200 people on Kickstarter are going to be hot sauce lovers. And it was a way to really expand awareness and raise a little bit of money at the same time. So it's a pre-sale. And if anyone goes on there right now over the next 6 days, you're going to get a 50% discount off of the final price point. This is probably going to be one of the more expensive hot sauces on the market,
Sure.
but you're going to be getting a 50% discount if you do it Kickstarter.
Yeah, I saw Donnie was asking about that. So right now the Kickstarter is the discount. So like it's already been marked down there. You do have a website where your other sauces are available.
Yeah,
Tell us a
that's
little bit
right.
about the site and like your other sauces that you're
Yeah.
doing as well.
So I started this business, and my goal was to have local ingredients, creative recipes, and really build community with events. Because as you know, like it's not always just the bourbon. It's about who you share the bourbon with.
Yep.
It's about being able to say, hey, do you taste this? Do you taste that? It's the community over the hot sauce that I'm really concerned about. So I host a lot of hot sauce events, VIP hot sauce events here in Shelby. People come to it and we just have pizza and eat and experiment with hot sauces. So shelbyspice.com, I have 3 options on my website right now. I have a hot sauce subscription. I have the Fire Crotch and the Yes Ma'am. And this one is going to be officially released probably early April.
Okay.
So it's going to be a minute before this is truly done. But you're getting batch number 6, man. You got one of those early editions. So hold on to that puppy. That's going to be special.
Well, so I saw the pictures of the boxes that you're having made for them. Was there a reason you kind of went with that style? Like what drew you to like that? Do you happen to have one to show with you, or?
Yeah,
if not,
okay. I don't have one with me.
Okay.
But you know how Booker's has like the really cool wooden box?
I figured you were inspired by that because it definitely gives you those vibes for sure.
I was even inspired by the Booker's font because I wanted a font that was elegant and masculine. And you don't realize how hard font typing is until you start to say, I want a masculine and elegant hot sauce font. And your designer's like, dude, what are you talking about? And I'm like, Booker's Bourbon, dude. Let me show you what I'm thinking about. And so the box is basically going to be like a little wine box that fits the bourbon inside of it in a really elegant way. And then I have something I can sign with like a silver Sharpie or a paint marker. I'm going to sign every single box with my name. I'm going to be able to put the batch number, the pot number, and really show that this is a small batch experience. This is not coming from some big factory. This is coming from a lover of hot sauce, a supporter of local farmers, and an artisan who wants to create something special out of a market that up until now really hasn't been very collectible.
Definitely. So is this like the first in a series of collectible? Like, do you have any ideas you're already kind of thinking on of like what's going to be the next collectible you work on?
Yes, very good question, Clifton. Listen, I have found a cane vinegar from another part of the world. And this cane vinegar is from Taiwan. It's called Datu Pati. And it's a really delicious cane vinegar that is different tasting than the one here in the US. And it goes really well with fruit. So I have this hot sauce called Rage, and it's a blackberry cane vinegar hot sauce that it's sweet, and sweet hot sauces can be weird, but it's delicious, man. So the one I'm going to be making tomorrow is a raspberry cane vinegar hot sauce with Carolina Reapers, like a lot of fermented Carolina Reapers. So it's going to be super hot and super, super sweet.
Well, then definitely, it sounds delicious. Sounds like something I couldn't handle, but like I said, we have some hot sauce connoisseurs here in the chat. I am sweating a little bit to take another bite of this one. I'm like, oof, okay, the heat's sneaking up on you. It doesn't hit you, like it doesn't blow your palate right away, but it definitely, the more you eat it, like I said, I've been dipping in it. So someone said in the chat that they definitely want to make some like chicken wings with this. Definitely recommend put it on, coat the wing in it. That way it's a little more evenly distributed than like me putting a clove on a chicken wing.
For sure.
Well, so the question, so about the sweeter ones, like the fruit ones, do you typically see people using those as like a salsa or as like something, like chicken? Like what would you say that a sweeter flavor like that would work well with?
Sweet hot sauces are less versatile, and so they're harder to sell. So as a salesperson, you've got to help people find ways to use hot sauce if they want to try a sweet hot sauce. So I'm all about that chicken and waffles, like breakfast.
Oh yeah.
Because sweet hot sauce is kind of like a jam. And so if you add jam, what are other things that you can add jam to if you want a spicy jam? Like here in North Carolina, you may have seen this. They have habanero honey all over the place. There's habanero honey. So like, what are sweet, hot locations for jam that you could put this on? And of course, white meat, pork loin, very just like simple meats. You can use sweet hot sauce, but it is less versatile than a savory hot sauce would be, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I was mentioning the hot honey. I bought one at a farmer's market once that had like the pepper down in it, and then I forgot about it for like I tasted when I first got it. I'm like, oh, this is really good. Like it's really balanced, sweet, spicy. But apparently, the longer you leave the pepper in there, the hotter it gets. So I tried like a year later, and like, oh my god,
it'll tear you up, man.
So I'm like, definitely just pro tip if you guys ever do like the pepper honey, monitor it because it like infuses that flavor consistently.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, okay, let's talk a little, let's switch topics a little bit. Let's talk whiskey. So what are
Yeah.
some of your favorite, like when you're sipping, like what do you typically
Oh
drink on?
man. So I went on the bourbon trail for the second time, and I fell in love with just barrel strength bourbons. Like I love a high rye barrel strength, just like super strong. Like I guess like the longer you're in bourbon, the stronger you want it, the more
Oh, same.
flavorful you
Yeah,
want it.
definitely.
And it was just like a real aha moment. Like, oh, I really like high rye. Oh, I
Mhm.
want it spicy. I want it painful. Like, give it to me just as the highest proof you can. So
Sounds like
that's
something
kind of where
someone
I'm
with
at in
Ebony's
my.
hot sauce would say.
There is an overlap. You're
I
exactly
think
right. Of
so.
like, I want this to hurt. I want this to hurt. That's a Venn diagram for sure.
Definitely. I see that Donnie said he ordered one of each from the site plus the subscription.
Oh,
Oh, well, Donnie, thank you
thank
so much.
you, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
He's the hot sauce lover here, so I knew he'd be all about this. So
Wow, that means a lot. I really appreciate the order. I will ship that out in the morning. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you so much, Donnie. Like I said, if anyone's interested, the Kickstarter link is down in the description. I put the link to the website here in the chat. Let me pin it. I don't know if it lets me do that right now, but I'll put it on the screen there. So if
Perfect.
anyone's interested, there's their website. Like I said, you have 3 available on the website to order now. This one you could pre-order a bit with the Kickstarter. Yeah. So okay, let me think.
Do
I'm
you
trying to think
guys
of
want to
some like
learn some?
specific questions about being in the
I
Carolinas.
could hit
Like,
you with some hot sauce facts. You want some really cool hot
oh, I
sauce facts?
love a hot sauce fact. Okay,
Yes.
give it to us.
So we were talking about wings earlier. If
Yes.
you ever want to make your own hot sauce buffalo wings, buffalo really just means that you've added butter to the hot sauce.
Mm,
So to make a really good hot wing recipe, take 2/3 of your dipping sauce, hot sauce, and 1/3 melted butter, and then add a little bit of baking soda to it. And the baking soda adds a crunch so that whenever you bake the wings or you fry the wings, there's an extra crunch. So add butter and baking soda to whatever hot sauce you love, and it's going to really increase the experience for your hot wings. So there's a little tip for you whenever you make your hot wings.
that is definitely a tip. I'm gonna definitely try a little bit of that next time versus just dipping it straight up.
For sure.
I see that Todd. He said he picked up the 5 bottle sampler. Thank you so much, Todd.
Ooh, my man.
Yeah. Donnie said butter makes it better. Well, that's with pretty much everything. Especially when you improve on the South. Like that's just everything.
Incredible.
Um, Donald Rant's joining us from Canada. He says, "Have you tried Diavolini peppers, Italian little devil peppers?"
So I have heard of that. I have not. Of course, I love the peppercini peppers,
Mm,
and I
yes, me
love the
too.
really
I have
hot.
a jar at all times,
Oh,
just to eat.
they're so good. And you can. That's another product where you can taste the quality
Mm,
because the cheap peppercini peppers have a really thin, papery shell around them almost,
mm,
and the fruit of a really nice peppercini is like 3 times thicker, so
yeah.
it's chewier, it's a better texture. And so I've paid like $30 for a jar of peppercini peppers one
Oh
time, and I
wow.
was like,
I
this is
haven't gotten
fancy,
that high
this is
end.
delicious.
There's an Armenian market near me that has like a higher end one that I typically go specifically to get
Mhm.
those, but not paid $30. Maybe I'll have to look into those. I love them
Yeah.
so much.
Well,
So
yeah, thank you to Donald. I will look up the Diavolini. That sounds really interesting. Um, there's over 50,000 pepper varieties. And one thing that I've learned on this hot sauce journey is some people are like pepper people where they choose a pepper and like that's the only hot sauce they'll have. And so like
mm,
there's on Instagram, there's someone habanero bro, and he only
oh
has
really?
hot sauces that are habaneros. Like he refuses to taste anything other than habanero. And I'm like, dude, there are 50,000 peppers out there. Please try another hot sauce. Let me give it to you. But yeah,
Yeah.
people become like heroes for their favorite pepper. I have a hot sauce coming out in the summer, and I have high schoolers growing this very rare pepper. I bought them 150 seeds of this very rare pepper. It's called the Puma pepper, and it's Puma. It's
Mm.
yellow and purple, and it's like a habanero with a lemongrass flavor. It's crazy.
Oh, interesting.
So like imagine like a lemongrass flavor with like a really just sweet fruity habanero. And so the Puma pepper, there's going to be all these high schoolers. The school bought them 2 greenhouses to
Oh,
grow
wow.
all these peppers, and I'm going to buy them from them, and all that money is going to go to the school FFA, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I think that's like a skill that I think that's one thing that I love about, not just for me, it was the arts growing up, but just programs that get kids hands on things that could be something that could grow into a passion as they're older. That's
Mhm.
so interesting. That's such a cool project. Yeah. Definitely.
And
Where can people like follow you to, like for your upcoming
yeah.
projects like that?
Oh, for sure. So Instagram is my number one. So Shelby Spice on Instagram, it's at Shelby Hot Sauce. If you just type in Shelby Spice, you'll see it. But I'm a big supporter in farmers, and I want to teach these high school kids that if you want to be a farmer, you've got to be an entrepreneur too. Like, it's very hard to just be a commodity and to create a commodity. Like, imagine you're growing corn and you're just selling your corn as a commodity. What if you went to the fair and you sold your corn as kettle popcorn? You would make so much money because you say, I grew this corn and here's kettle popcorn. I believe that the best farmers are also entrepreneurs and creative business people. And so that's what I'm trying to give these high school kids. So I'm going to make a video on my Instagram about this experience of these local high schoolers growing and learning how to become farmers. And it's going to be really cool. It's for the agriculture class.
That's so cool. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. I followed you. If you guys want to see, check out my story on Instagram. You can tap into their account there. So give them a follow for sure.
Can I tell you,
oh, go ahead.
I want to tell you one of my dreams. So your
Okay.
brand is one of my favorite brands of any bourbon related podcast, YouTube channel, blog. Like your brand, I just love it. One of my dreams, Clifton, is to have the Sauce Mobile. I want to buy an 80s, it's like an 80s Corvette, and it's just going to be the hot sauce mobile. And like whenever I drive around town, it's only 80s synth music, just like.
That is awesome. If I were an investor, I would be like, here you go, build it.
And I want to get
put
like
my logo as a sponsor on the back.
So imagine like this, just like dorky 80s Corvette with like a wrap around it, like with all kinds of like hot sauce, like imagery on it. And I only play 80s synth music on it, and it's the Sauce Mobile. So
you gotta do it. You gotta do
80s,
it.
man. I love the 80s brand so much.
Oh, that's a whole thing. I appreciate that a lot. It's definitely different. I kind of originally started with like a gaming kind of element to it, but it's kind of slowly evolved into like just all things 80s. Like we do 80s movie nights on our Discord and lots of fun things like that. So I don't know. As someone that grew up in the 90s, I missed out on it. I feel like I'm kind of reliving the era just through the films and the games and stuff like that.
Exactly.
A couple other questions. Well, before I get to the question, you mentioned, okay, so you said you don't like people that just have one pepper that is their favorite. But do you have like a top 3 or 4 that are your favorite peppers? Or is that too limited?
Yes. There is a seedless jalapeno, which is delicious. And the seedless red jalapeno is just like, it's crazy to eat a pepper that doesn't have seeds in it.
Right.
I highly recommend that one. There's a type of banana pepper called the Hungarian wax. And the Hungarian wax is sweet and juicy and thick, and it's still spicy, and it has this pink color, which is really crazy. So I love the Hungarian wax pepper. Growing peppers is just so much fun. Like you get into it and you're like, I'm growing vegetables. I'm just eating my vegetables, baby.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Donald, apparently he grows peppers. He says he loved growing I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but those are the 2 that he grows. They must survive harsh winters because, like I said, he's up in Canada, so they have some
French Espelette. Oh, listen, I'm gonna have to type these down. I'm gonna have to save these comments, man. This is great. Wow.
And then Donnie says another pepper to look into is the datil pepper, cousin of habanero and Scotch bonnet.
Oh, love it. This summer, I have something similar to that. I'm going to be growing a 7-pot chocolate, which is super hot, and it's kind of like a Scotch bonnet shape. And it's going to be like a pretty serious chocolate flavor. And I don't really know how I'm going to use these peppers, but I told the farmer I'd buy 100 pounds from him, which is a lot of peppers. And so I'm trying to support these farmers, but also I'm like, I gotta make a recipe. So.
Oh, I'm sure you'll find something. Donald says he likes the Hungarian wax peppers. He uses them in goulash.
Oh, nice. They're so flavorful.
Awesome. Well, Duncan, thank you so much for coming on. I know we're a little bit wrapping a little bit early, but like you said, follow you guys on. You said the Instagram is Shelby Hot Sauce.
Shelby Hot Sauce.
Awesome. Any final thoughts? I know you gave us. I normally always ask for any upcoming cool projects, but I feel like you touched on like 5 of them during this stream, which is awesome. So, okay. Random question: favorite '80s movie?
So first time I watched Breakfast Club, I hated it. And I was like, there's no plot. And then you realize it's just a symbol for clicks. It's a symbol
Yeah.
for the different paths of life. And then you watch it like a fourth time and you're like, damn, this is deeper than I wanted it to be. So
Yeah, no, I love all of his films. I haven't seen all of them, but I'm working my way through them. Like I said, I'm trying to play catch up because I didn't grow up in the '80s. So like
yeah,
that's part of the reason I do the movie nights on Discord. I ask these guys, tell me some movies to watch, and I'll
right.
look them up. But
I think my last thought for your incredible followers, like these comments have been so cool just reading them. And the fact that I've gotten some purchases just means the world to me. My last thought for everyone is enjoy the collecting experience. Like I'm a big believer that as collectors of bourbon, collectors of hot sauce, like we are engaging with like a real human experience because you're on the hunt. And Joseph Campbell, who was very big in the 80s, he's an intellectual who wrote about the myth theory and the monomyth. He said humans were designed to have story and to come from hunting. How do you translate the archetypal human into the future? And we don't go hunting big elephants anymore. We don't go killing saber-toothed tigers to protect our family. We hunt different things. We hunt bourbon and we hunt hot sauce. I want to say cheers to your followers for being hunters and for collecting, because collecting is one of the greatest things you can do to support yourself and to find joy in this world.
wow, I could not have said it better myself. So maybe next time you all are doing a meetup with your friends, sharing your bottles, maybe bring some hot sauce. You know, spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, Duncan, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Let me know if there's anything coming up soon, like other projects. I'd love to have you back again to talk more hot sauce. I know these guys love it. They're, like I said, their target audience has been reached. The Venn diagrams have definitely overlapped here. So
perfect.
awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I sure appreciate it.
Of course. Well, everyone else, I will see you over on the after party if you are a patron. Otherwise, I will see you on next week's live stream. I have a couple of options, haven't quite decided, so I don't want to announce it yet. But yeah, stick around, make sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And again, cheers, Duncan. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.